Hello, third graders, and welcome to your next lesson on graphs today. Today, we're going to be doing something a little different with graphs. Today, I'm going to show you a graph, and you're going to have to use your detective skills, your investigation skills, kind of like our mystery unit in Reader's Workshop, to figure out what is going on with this graph. This graph isn't everything it appears to be. Actually, there's some mistakes in this graph that I'm going to challenge you to see if you can find. There are actually two mistakes in this graph that you'd have to find, and only the very best detectives can figure out what these two mistakes are. So without further ado, here's a chart on animals and their different heights. All right. As you look at this graph, third graders, I want you to be thinking about what exactly could be going on with this graph. Do you see anything that seems like a mistake, an anomaly? Something that doesn't quite make sense? There are two different things. When we look at data, we often want to think about how the numbers are in relation to each other. We want to use our own knowledge of what we know about maybe these animals, maybe what the numbers we're seeing in the different graphs. Maybe the numbers in the graph, what do they have to do with the animals that are going on? Do the numbers match up with what's going on in the graph? Maybe that's something to look at. When you think you found maybe one, or even if you found the two things that are mistakes with this graph, why don't you go ahead and go into the Google Slides and put what those two things are. What do you think are the two mistakes going on with this graph? In today's lesson, I want to do something really fun and really cool. I'm actually going to have you go ahead and make a graph at home of anything you want. It can be anything from the different kinds of foods you have in your house. Maybe you could come up with a fun competition, whether that's doing some exercises or maybe some dances, and see how long people can do dances. How many push-ups can everyone do in your house? Maybe you want to just make a graph about the different kinds of people in your family. How tall is everyone in your family? What kind of hair color do they all have? Do they have different hair colors? Is it all the same? Eye colors? Ages, maybe? Think of something fun you want to do and make a graph on it. Don't think too hard about it. Just do something fun, something easy, something really accessible that you can do. And go ahead and make a graph on what that would look like. One example Mr. G has for you is that I was thinking about what could I make a graph on, and what's something I have quite a bit of I can make a graph on. And one thing I decided to make a graph on was the colors of shoes I have in my condo. So I went and I looked at all my different kinds of shoes, and I went and added them up. And all I have about 15 pairs of shoes with me right now. Not back at my old house where I live with my parents, but I had even more back there. But I have 15 pairs of shoes with me, and I went and instead of doing how big each of them are, since they're all around the same size, because Mr. G wears the same size, because my feet haven't grown in years, I decided to do what colors are they? So the four biggest colors that I found among my shoes were ones that were mostly black, ones that were mostly blue, and ones that were mostly brown and white. So those are my four: black, blue, brown, and white. And so I said, okay, now let me put a different category for each kind of shoe. So what you can go ahead and do is look at this graph, and do you see what I did here? On the vertical axis, which we often call the y-axis, I put the different numbers of data I have there. And those are all the different numbers, the quantities I have for all of my different shoes. And on the x-axis, which is the horizontal part of the graph, I put all of the different colors that I started measuring: black, blue, brown, and white. And so from that, I was able to do a quick little graph of all the different shoes in my house. So one thing I'm going to challenge you to do for your last piece of homework for this assignment is just to do it. Like I said, anything in your house. What do you think you want to make a graph on? Talk to your family, talk to your parents, maybe your siblings. What fun activity do you think you can go and measure, get some data on, and then make a fun graph out of it, and then show your teacher? Me, Miss Alvarado, and Miss Preto would love to see what kind of graphs you're going to come up with. And even if you have time, give us maybe one or two, three, four graphs if you have time. Really go crazy with it, because it's really fun to see all the different kinds of things that you're doing at home, and it'll give us a little kind of peek into what you're doing at home, and something you'd want to share with us, whether that's maybe the different kind of toys you have, or the different colors of clothes. How many kinds of red shirts do you have? How many different kinds of blue shirts? Are they all the same color, or are they not? Something fun to think about. So until the next math lesson, see you later.